Senator Lambie.
Mr Acting Deputy President, after almost a year of consideration in the Senate Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade References Committee, with 5 public hearings across the nation and over 450 submissions, the report on veteran suicide, named The Constant Battle, has been tabled. It is 181 pages in total and is comprehensive. Part of this report addresses short-term problems, which include streamlining administration, staff training at the Department of Veterans Affairs, improving engagement. It calls on targeted programs based on new research, increasing the understanding of the mental health community, and addresses support issues of transition from military life into civilian life, and the need for access to alternative therapies. In the medium term, the committee found that there was clear evidence for a national suicide register. It noted concerns about negative interactions with the Department of Veterans Affairs and that the claims process is a key stressor and contributing factor to suicide by some veterans. It noted issues with medico-legal firms retained by the Department of Veterans Affairs to assess veterans and has recommended the Department of Veterans Affairs reassess its use of medico-legal firms. It has recommended that Care Assistance Scheme include an option for veterans to undertake a period of work experience with an outside employer, and that the Australian Public Service Commission conduct a review to support veterans' employment into the APS and public sector. Noting the complex range of services available to veterans, the committee recommended funding support of the veterans and veterans' family counselling service to create and maintain a public database of services, which is to provide an information service to assist veterans and their families. And the committee also recommends a review of the practice which prohibits lawyers appearing for veterans before the Veterans Review Board. Longer term, it noted that addressing the legal and administrative complexities of veterans' entitlements is long overdue. It has recommended a Productivity Commission review into the legislative and administrative processes, including an examination of the utilisation of the statements of principles, with the objective of simplifying the entitlement system, that this review be completed with 18 months, and the establishment of a Bureau of Veterans Advocates. This Bureau of Advocates would be modelled from the Canadian system, that being the Bureau of Pension Advocates, which has proven success. I would suggest we have a bipartisan support that you do not wait 18 months to set that up. I would probably look at that tomorrow. The Department of Veterans Affairs can no longer hold on to the status quo, nor be able to justify incremental changes that have been done in the past. Previous reviews of military compensation and the piecemeal approach of reforms have contributed to the overall complexity of veterans' entitlements in our country. It is now time for a complete overhaul of the compensation and rehabilitation system in this country. Earlier this year, the Auditor-General, through the Australian National Audit Office, indicated that it was going to conduct a potential performance audit into the efficiency of veterans' service delivery by the Department of Veterans Affairs in its annual audit work program for 2017-18, and as such the committee recommends the audit be conducted as a matter of urgency. This audit will serve to complement and reinforce the work of administrative review by the Productivity Commission. Given the contents of this report and its recommendations, I am now calling on all veterans, young, middle-aged and old, enlisted and officers to unite and put pressure on the Turnbull government to adopt and implement these recommendations as soon as possible. Over the last several years, the ex-service organisations of our nation and the veterans community have been greatly divided on a host of issues. It is now time for healing. Veterans need to stop bashing veterans who are helping veterans. Stopping veteran suicides and attempted suicides is paramount, and to be able to achieve this, we will all need to work together. Where there are areas that veterans disagree, we need to be able to agree to disagree, and where we find common ground, we all need to stand together as one. I'm calling on all retired Australian Defence Force senior non-commissioned officers and retired commissioned officers to take the lead and be the leaders that they once were when they served in uniform. Your nation needs you once again, now more than ever, as role models in the veterans community. Be the leaders who are healers, where veterans are fighting and backstabbing other veterans. You need to call that out as leaders and to be able to show others a more constructive way of addressing issues and moving forward. The time of divided veterans community needs to cease immediately if we are going to achieve tangible action on the recommendation of the committee's report. United we stand to demand the government to take action, and divided we will continue to fall, with the status quo remaining. The veterans community as a whole bears some responsibility here because it has been so divided. All ex-service organisations, veterans and their families must band together to demand that the government of today implement these recommendations. Where the government decides to disagree with a committee recommendation, it should not just be able to disagree without having a workable alternative to that recommendation. We need a united, sustained pressure to deny government the space to wiggle out of its responsibilities to veterans once and for all. It is only with a united veterans community that we will be able to hold the government of the day, as well as future governments, accountable and ensure the recommendations are adopted and implemented as quickly as possible. It is for this reason that all veterans and their families must stand together as one. I seek leave to continue my remarks.
Senator